Euphrosyne is the new wing of the Endwalker Alliance raid, unlocked in the 6.3 patch. In this video, we're going over all the mechanics that'll help you get through the raid smoothly. This video contains no story spoilers, except for the fact that you will see all the bosses, so if you haven't done the raid yourself just yet, it might be better to do that first before referring to the guide. So without further ado, let's go. My name is Ivona from momzen.com, and if this is your first time around here, subbing is a good idea. I make simple FF14 guides that'll answer some of your questions in no time and give you quick in-game wins. I also live stream on this channel quite a bit, so if you're a fan of awesome communities, in-game and other highlights, I'm sure I'll see you around. The first encounter of this raid is against Nophica. Nophica starts things off by dealing a raid-wide AoE called Abundance that you can simply heal through. Matron's Plenty is another one of her abilities that changes the ground to flower or grass, announcing the start of the upcoming mechanic, the Giving Land. The Giving Land has two versions of the attack. If the ground is filled with flowers, Nophica casts a melee range circular AoE that you need to move out of to avoid. If the ground is grass, she casts an AoE that covers the arena except for a circular AoE in melee range. In order to avoid it, you need to move into melee range. Matron's Harvest is an ability that ends the Giving Land, which does raid-wide damage, and the arena also goes back to normal. During Reaper's Gale, Nophica telegraphs horizontal and vertical stripes of orange AoEs, which will go off when the Reaper's Gale cast is finished. She will do two casts, one right after another, with the safe areas changing the second time. In order to fully avoid damage, watch for the new damage markers and immediately move to the new safe area after the first cast goes off. Nophica will then go back to Matron's Plenty, the Giving Land, and the Matron's Harvest cycle. The second half of this raid basically consists of mechanics we already know from the first half, but with other extra mechanics that we will also go over. When it comes to Matron's Breath, circular rings of blue and or yellow light will start closing in on central markers. For reference, blue rings are marked by a circle marker and the yellow rings are marked by a triangle marker. On the ground, matching yellow and blue circular areas will also pop up. What you need to do is be on the corresponding yellow or blue circle when the ring of light hits the center marker. If the ring hits the blue marker, then you should be on the blue ring, and the other way around, in order to not take damage. Floral Haze also comes with a twist. Every player gets assigned a directional marker, and you can see what marker has been placed on you by looking at your name in the party list. This directional marker has a countdown timer, and when the timer hits 0, you will be forced to march in the indicated direction, so be careful about positioning. Landwalker and Reaper's Gale also come with a twist. In addition to Reaper's Gale, she will also cast circular AoEs spread randomly throughout the arena, meaning you have to deal with both mechanics at the same time, and safe areas are even more limited. How fun! Floral Haze and Matron's Plenty cycle change too. Right after Landwalker and Reaper's Gale go off, most players will be forced to march in the direction as indicated in the party list. You'll need to position yourself so you don't get caught in the Matron's Plenty cycle and be able to move in or out, depending on if the floor is made of flowers or grass. Sowing Circle and Giving Land have their own versions in the second part of the encounter as well. During Sowing Circle, Nophica casts circular AoEs that start near her and move slowly outwards. There are 4 of these spaced evenly out. Right after, she'll cast Giving Land, and these two mechanics will overlap. Matron's Harvest ends the flower and grass arena stage, and the arena goes back to normal. She will then cast Matron's Breath, however, it will be a more complicated version. There will be more markers and circles moving around, so be ready to move quickly in between yellow and blue ground markers. Stack marker also goes off on a random player after Matron's Breath, so group up to soak the damage. After that, she should be pretty close to being defeated, and the mechanics following will be a repeat of those you've already seen, so just keep all of this in mind and you're good to go. Althyk and Nymeia are the second encounter of this raid, and you'll be battling them at the same time, but we'll discuss them separately. Make sure to tank them apart. Nymeia's first ability is the Spinner's Wheel. She will draw a tarot card periodically, and it will apply an effect to all of the players. Those effects come in two different types of sets, either Fire and Ice or Lovers and Attraction Reversed. In each turn, you will only see one of the sets. When it comes to Fire and Ice, Fire, which is red, means you should stop moving when the countdown ends or you'll take damage. Ice, which is blue, means you need to keep moving when the countdown ends or you'll be frozen and take ice damage. For Lovers and Attraction Reverse, Lovers, which is pink, means you need to face away from Nymeia when the countdown ends, else you will be seduced and temporarily unable to deal damage. Attraction Reversed, which is green, means you should face towards Nymeia when the countdown ends. Nymeia also has a water wave attack. Basically, a blue bar with arrows will show up in the middle of the arena. You can't really miss it. This is a cascading water attack from Nymeia that will travel across the arena in both directions, so you need to wait for a wave to trigger before moving to the position where the wave just happened. If you get caught in the wave, you will be continuously pushed by the wave until you're off the platform, leading to certain deaths, so please don't do that. It is easiest to move near the center when the attack indicator first shows up. Wait for the first wave to resolve, and then simply move into the center, which is now safe. Althyk's first attack is Mithril Great Axe. Althyk will cast a cone-shaped AoE in front of him in a random direction, so make sure to avoid that. Time and Tide is another one. You'll see an indicator on screen that will let you know Althyk can speed up time, and it can sometimes take place in a conjunction with Nymeia's card cast, which will result in speeding up the card's trigger time. With Axioma, Althyk distorts space and time, opening up blue rifts on the platform. If you stand in the rift, you'll have a magic vulnerability up and heavy debuff, so avoid standing in the blue parts until an inexonerable pull happens. Inexonerable pull basically means that players need to stand in the blue rifts in order to avoid getting blown up in the air by this attack, as it's made obvious by the upward-facing arrows. 3 puddles of water will happen on the arena in a triangle shape, right after Petri, which is a tank buster. Each of the water puddles has 1 to 3 diamond thingies floating above them. These indicate the numerical order in which circular pushes will be kicked off one after another, and it basically means that players will be pushed away from the puddles when the effect goes off. You should position yourself at the puddle marked with 1 so that you will be pushed towards 2, and then when you're at 2, position yourself in a way that you are pushed towards 3. If you get even one of those wrong, or your positioning is slightly off, you will be yeeted off the platform, which admittedly happens a lot on the first week of the patch. From here on out, it's a rinse and repeat of the mechanics we've seen before, but with a special twist on some of them, specifically puddles and Althlyk's Time and Tide. The second time the puddles appear, it will be at the same time as Time and Tide. Althyk will attach a tether to 1 puddle of water, and this specific one will trigger first, regardless of what number it has. You will need to position yourself at the tethered pool so that you will be pushed towards 1 and then 2 or 3, as the untethered puddles will set off in the usual numeric order, meaning 1 before 2, 2 before 3, etc. At this point, Nymeia and Althyk should be pretty close to defeat, so just be wary of these twists and you're good to go. Halone is the third boss of the raid, and she comes with her own set of abilities and attacks. At the beginning of the fight, Halone executes 3 attacks of raid-wide AoEs called Rain of Spears, so healers just be prepared. When Halone jumps to the center of the arena, the cast bar for Tetrapagos will appear. While the cast bar is getting filled up, Halone will give you a preview of her AoE attack sequence, which usually consists of 4 attacks. You need to memorize them and move to safe spots, because when Tetrapagos happens, Halone will perform these attacks one by one and very quickly. After the first Tetrapagos, she will cast another one, so be prepared to memorize a different sequence the next time around. Doom's Spear happens right after the second Tetrapagos, and it consists of 3 glowing areas with pillars and stack markers that appear in corners of the room. Each alliance must gather at their respective pillars, meaning that Alliance A usually gets to the west marker, B in center, and then C on the east side to soak the damage. Thousandfold Thrust is also something you should be aware of. The beginning of this attack is indicated by red orbs revolving around Halone. They will slowly gather to one side of her, which indicates which half of the platform she'll launch an AoE on. So, in order to not take a ton of damage, go to the other side. For Locos, 2 areas outside the arena with glowing gold orbs will start sparkling. When Locos' cast bar is up, the orbs will turn into spears and fly across the platform in AoE attacks, leaving only 1/4 of the platform safe. So just try to stay in the center near the boss in order to easily move to the safe quarter. For Will of the Fury, a red ring around the perimeter of the arena will start flashing. That means you should move away from Halone and head towards the edge of the arena, because she will also place a proximity marker in the middle of the platform. At the edge of the platform, you will need to wait for the traveling wave of ice to trigger once, before moving into the safe area, as you will be frozen, take a lot of damage, and most likely die if you don't. Glacial Spears and the Fury's Frost meter are also something to keep in mind. So right after the Will of the Fury, 3 Glacial Spears will drop down in the corner of the room. And in Rage meter, the Fury's Frost will also begin to fill up. There's a central Glacial Spear, but the 3 corner spears are important to get rid of first. What you need to do first is, as a big group, go to one of the 3 corner Glacial Spears, because each alliance should take care of one. After a few minutes, barriers will go up around the corner spears, so they can only attack the Glacial Spear they are in proximity to, which means if you end up at the wrong spear, you can't move to the right one. All 3 Glacial Spears and the central one need to be defeated in time before Halone's Enrage meter, the Fury's Frost, reaches 100. If the meter fills up, then that is a wipe. The rest of the fight is just a repeat of previous mechanics with some overlap, so if you're fine with all of this so far, you will have an easy time. Memphina is the final boss of this raid wing, and like Halone, Memphina's first attack is a raid-wide AoE called Blue Moon. As per Love's Light, when it's cast, a big moon starts forming outside of the platform. The big moon then begins to wax gradually, and that's indicated by the glowing part of it expanding. Once the moon fully waxes, so it fully glows, it will telegraph an AoE bar through the middle of the room, and that's called Full Bright. What you need to do is move to the left or the right side of the moon's trail to avoid getting hit. As per Midnight Frost, Memphina indicates the beginning of this cast with blue-white frost forming on one side of her. What side the frost is on indicates which half of the room a big AoE will form on, and that's the side you shouldn't be on. Lunar Kiss are tank busters on all 3 tanks, and they should aim these away from the rest of the alliance. Silver Mirror is an attack where random circular AoEs will start forming one after another throughout the arena, so just keep moving to avoid getting caught in them. As per Moonset, Memphina casts 3 huge circle AoEs. She will leap to one after another, so make sure you are not hit when she lands. At the beginning of Winter Halo cast, a glowing orange area around Memphina will form, and you need to move into the safe zone, which is essentially melee range, as when Winter Halo executes, it will be arena-wide AoE minus the safe melee zone, so be careful. As per Love's Light, 4 moons with linked AoEs will form in the arena. They are in various stages of waxing, and this indicates when the AoEs will go off. You will need to position yourself in the AoEs of moons, which are mostly dark instead of light, as they will go off later, and the moons in later stages of waxing will have their AoEs trigger first. When it comes to Salandine Mysteria, 4 pillars will drop down, and you will need to get rid of them. Little snowflakes will also appear on the platform, and these will have cone-shaped AoEs. You'll need to watch out for these as they hurt. Once the pillars are destroyed, Memphina will cast a raid-wide attack, so if you're a healer, be wary. After Salandine Mysteria, the second phase of Memphina's fight starts. You will see Memphina's attacks from the first phase with the addition of attacks from her gorgeous pupper. Midnight Frost and Dalamud's AoE are the first things to be aware of. In addition to Memphina's Midnight Frost, you need to watch out for which side the dog's white sight arm is lifted. The half of the platform that the sight is lifted will have an AoE go off on, so stay away from it as well. This kind of principle applies to the entire stage too, meaning you'll have to make sure you're both out of Memphina's and the pupper's damage. For as long as you've got that covered, you'll finish off Memphina, which should get you to completion of the raid in no time. That's all I could think of when it comes to the bosses of Euphrosyne. Have I forgotten to mention anything? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't subbed yet, make sure to do that now, so you don't miss out on more easy FF14 wins. Massive thanks to everyone supporting the channel, and especially our alphas like Kathy Spear and YouTube memberships, as well as Andyman, Space Cadet Rick, and Elijah Baker over on Patreon. If you'd like to join them and keep the content going, all of the links are in the description of this video. Enjoy the new raid wing, have fun, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye!